Now, the rest of the story.
Welcome back, everybody. You are riding along for a first for me. We're down tedding that lower section of the lower part of the valley, and this is how it's turning out. It's actually doing a really nice job. The only issue I've had is I broke a shear bolt within like the first 100 feet of starting. Now this stuff, it's that swamp grass. It's dried out brown, doesn't look that great, but when you go through and spread it back out, there's some greenness in there yet, but it's green, but there isn't much for moisture there. I mean, the stalks themselves, compared to when I cut them, you could take them and like bend them over and like squeeze them, and you'd get a whole bunch of like dang near water dripping out of them. And now, at least to the touch, the stalk is dry. I cut this stuff 2 days ago. I'm not sure. I would have preferred to ted this yesterday. Granted, all of these gaps between these windrows here probably might not be as dry as they are now. I mean, there's water not standing, but it's soft on the back side of that grass patch, and that was actually starting to dry out to a certain degree too. Same thing with this low spot here. That I had the diff lock, the front wheel assist locked in, and I was actually 2 gears higher going across that than I was on the rest of it, just to make sure I had some momentum just in case it started to sink. And I did. It sunk in about the depth of the treads, not terrible, and just going through, drove right through it tedding right now, and it's dried out, it's firmed up. So this is going to be really interesting. I don't know if we're going to call it an experiment. It's not really a trial. I mean, a trial is something that you can repeat every year, and this is something that I might get away with this year, and all dependent on the weather. It could be 5-10 years before I could ever have a chance to do this again. I'm hoping not, but I'm just taking advantage of the opportunities that are presented to me. And what I'm looking to do for this experiment is, it's the 7th of July, being able to go through and make this like I am, getting this cleaned off. It's allowing any of the regrowth to come back. If we do get a bunch of rain, it shouldn't be enough. I mean, it'd have to be like several inches. It shouldn't be enough to where after taking this heavy first cut off, the regrowth coming back up shouldn't come up so heavy to the point where the air, the sun, the wind won't be able to get to the ground and help dry the ground out again, so I can come back and at least get one more cutting off of it. And that's really what I'm looking for, is just, well, let's say this, I gotta say this properly. That is my second cut coming up on everything else down here. My intentions are to cut this again when I make that, because with the current weather situation, it's looking like my current intentions plan for the rest of the farm down here is I'm seriously looking at the potential of only making the valley, the bottom ground, down here, and that's it for second cut. Unless we get a bunch of rain. They did go through and put a bunch of rain chances back into the forecast. I mean, we originally, when I was cutting hay yesterday on everything else, which is why I wasn't tedding yesterday, they pulled all the rain chances out. Like, the next chance for rain is next Wednesday, and today is Friday. So, a chance of scattered showers tonight, but I've been lied to before. The only difference is when I was down here cutting it on Wednesday, we had a 82% chance of rain on Wednesday, and I was down here cutting during the 4 hours that they were calling for that storm, I didn't get a single drop of rain. The only difference is to the west back there, it is actually getting kind of dark. Will we get rain? It's yet to be seen. Yeah, even if this stuff gets some rain on it, I will come down and ted it back out if I had to. But to be completely honest, the current rain situation is chances of rain tonight, but then I don't think they're calling for much until Monday afternoon, Monday night. So originally the plan was to bale this and everything else Monday, Tuesday. Now today is Friday. I'm looking at this stuff, tedding it out tonight, or today. I mean, it's still mid-afternoon. Baling it tomorrow potentially. I mean, coming down and checking it, see what it looks like. The reed canary, like the grasses, that I could almost bale that now. I mean, it's ripe. It was ripe when I cut it. I mean, it was done growing. The stuff dries out really nice. Beautiful feed. I mean, I like feeding that stuff out. I mean, I'm not going to get into complaining about people that say it's junk, but about a third of this area that I'm on is that grass, has that grass on it. It's actually mixing in really well too, which is another reason why I'm down here tedding it like I am. I say like I am because I'm not taking 2 windrows at a time. I'm actually taking 1 windrow at a time, and then I'm overlapping on the other half of the tedder what I've already tedded out. So here's my new pass. There's an untedded windrow, and that's my last pass. Now we're gonna go over here and look out the back. So the first pass over this stuff, I mean, it's thick, it's heavy, it's long, it's stemmy. It doesn't exactly want to break apart. I mean, it's even clumped up here because when I was cutting this, I couldn't clear it with the tractor, so I was actually rolling it like that underneath the tractor, and then you get those big clumps like that. So what we're doing here is that's the first pass. So the first pass is breaking it out, spreading it apart a little bit. You're still getting some clumps back there, but at least when it's going through the tedder, it's, you know, it's kind of fanning it out, which is what I want to see. And then when I come back across, like over here, it's actually picking up everything that I didn't catch the first time over, and it's doing a better job of fanning out the stuff that I hit the first time. Because look out here, see how clumpy that is on this side of the tedder? But then if you look over here and on over, it's actually pretty level. It's smoothed out. It did a really nice job. I'm not making any land speed records here. 8th gear, 1300, 1350 RPMs at 2.5 miles an hour. Pretty much just letting the tedder do its job. I mean, I'm getting it done quicker than what I did when I was cutting it. I mean, I only cut it going this way the other day, so I had a lot of deadheading it, shutting it off and driving clear to the other end and then heading back. But see, you got those big clumps, and then going back through that way, it's gonna be grabbing those clumps, which are kind of arced, because it's, you know, the way it's by design, it's kind of pulling them apart. Then as that is coming back through the tedder as I'm driving back that way, it's, which you can kind of see over here, it's doing a better job of grabbing it gradually, and you're not getting the clumps quite so much. You get a few, but overall I'm happy with the job it's doing. What'll ultimately end up happening is by tedding it, it's mixing this stuff in. It's like it's stirring it up. There was reed canary at varying amounts across everything down here. There's just parts of it where it was not prevalent enough to where the swamp grass is going to be almost all of what the bale consists of, and I'll end up cherry picking the bales that are primarily grass with some of that swamp grass mixed in, with the bales that are primarily that swamp grass with some reed canary mixed in, and the stuff that have more reed canary in it, I'll be putting through the bale feeder first to keep the cows from laying on it and knocking it around and everything. The bales that are primarily that swamp grass, which stuff's essentially like corn fodder or bean stubble, you know, to me that's what I'm considering it as. There might be a little bit of reed canary in it. The cows can go through and knock it around and chew out what they want, but then they can lay on the rest of it. Those bales I'm just going to set out outside of the bale feeder and just let the cows do what they want with them, because I want to get the material removed. For those of you that are watching from a couple of years ago when I bought those cows, I originally bought the cows as a recycling system. Really didn't look at them with the intention of taking off with, or springboarding off. Okay, camera died, back to the cell phone. I just want to go ahead, I just want to finish what I was saying in regards to those cows that I had. They're a recycling system. I wasn't really planning on jumping from what I had, you know, 15 cows, to pushing it up to 60, which is essentially where I'm at. Well, the cows can at least get some use out of it, and letting them lay on it for bedding, even in the summer like this, it's still something they're going to chew on, and I don't really feel like it's hurting them. I don't think there's anything negative that's going to happen to them by nosing through this stuff. But what it is, it's, you know, like straw. They can lay on it. Gives them something soft to lay on, because my cows are still locked in the barnyard. We don't have the fence up. Okay, even if we had the fence up, this isn't going to do me a whole lot of good, because there's not much grass out there. I'm going to go through and put hot wire around it once we get the fence in, so the cows aren't pushing the fence. But I got way too many cattle in there to sustain putting them on that pasture and thinking they're going to get more than just a few hours or maybe 24 hours of use out of it. But it's a cow lot to me. It's an extended cow lot. We got pastures that are underutilized. I got to put some fences up there. I got to get them cleaned up, and I'm going to be doing like other guys also do, where after their cows calve in the spring, they sort them out from everybody else, or the ones that they want to haul out, and I'll haul out a bunch of cow-calf pairs out to the pasture. Now, to do that, as long as I have the pasture up and running, I'm planning on buying another bull next year. We got 4 bulls in with the cows right now, and I would more than likely look at just putting a bull in out in the pasture with them, so that way I can get away with actually putting cows out to pasture to a certain degree. I don't have a whole lot of acres in pasture that I can utilize. So I mean, the problem is if I go buy a $3,000 bull to put 5 cows out on pasture, so I can at least get them bred in time with everybody else, you know. By keeping everybody in the barnyard like I am, kind of confinement wise, I mean, it's yeah. Well, the nice thing about it is I put the bulls in, and I take the bulls back out. It's incredibly simple to do, and especially when I'm really just trying to get my footing on what works best for me as far as my cows, and making sure that I'm doing it the most efficient way possible. The way I'm doing it right now makes the most sense. It does. So I would like to be able to haul something out to pasture. I mean, even loading up heifers and hauling heifers out to pasture is kind of what I'm doing right now. I had those 4 heifers that'll be put in with the bull in November, and they're currently being watched by my daughter out the house window because Relina's always got to go check the cows, which is cute. And that's why I wanted the cows out there too. I mean, pasture's just sitting idle. It just gets taken over with brush and everything. So trying to make all the feed within reason that we can. This, I'm not sure what's all going to come back, if the Reed Canary is going to kind of help push out some of this stocky stuff, or I'm just looking at a potential another cutting of this stuff, which I'll make it. I mean, it's better than 100% of nothing, and if I don't make it, it just sits here and rots anyway. And like I've said plenty of times down here about the bottom ground that I have, one of the biggest issues that was going on down here is it had gone so many years not being cleaned off, you know, entirely, because the landowner, when they were running it, they had cows down here, and the cows would, you know, pretty well keep it cleaned up. Well, when the cows went away, the grasses weren't being made, eaten, whatever, and then the problem is you get multiple years of growth and the stuff isn't rotting away or deteriorating fast enough. Then you get that matted material on the ground, and then the dirt, the soil hasn't seen sunlight in years. And what I'm really hoping to do is, if I can get this cleaned up where there's nothing on it when we go into this winter, even if it floods, I'm hoping that it'll help it firm up, not dry out, you know, more like dry up, firm up, so I can actually make a first cutting off of more of this ground down through here. I'm not gonna be able to make all of it. I get that. I mean, I got that piece up here. That's a low spot. First cutting almost always has water in it. I cut it, I tedded it, and I'll be making that right along with the rest of this. My biggest concern with going through and just getting this cut, made, baled, whatever, is like the weather forecast. It could change at the drop of a hat and decide that it's going to start raining. Granted, I wish it would have done it like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. But who says that it can't happen yet? And I would have potentially lost. I don't know. I want to say there's 40, 50 bales here, but I'm a little skittish on putting a number out there, you know, for certain, because on those 2 fields that we were making the other day, that we made, I was thinking there were 6 bales there. Seriously, that's what it looked like. Well, guys, let's not get too excited here. I mean, we're only gonna, it's only 6 bales. We'll get it done in no time. Yeah, there's 21. So I was off by a pretty wide stretch there. So down here, I think there's more than 5, but I'll take what I can get. I'm just gonna be happy to get all of our second cut done, because it's all on the ground. Even if it gets rained on, it's on the ground. So any rain we get, it can get benefited from. The rain can benefit the regrowth for the next cutting. Like down here, the grass. When I was down here cutting this piece, I streamed on nitrogen the day before. Okay, that's been 3 days now, 4 days. Tuesday, today, that was Monday or Tuesday, today's Friday. That grass, it's doubled in height since Monday. So we get some rain on it yet. I have to spray my foliar on, which will be a radiate. Probably a herbicide, just because down here, the rest of the farm is fine. But down here I have some broadleaves trying to work their way in from the edges, believe it or not, like by the river, and then along the hillside I'm getting some broadleaves in that I do not want to see. But
I was also told, in closing here, I was also told that grass hay locally was going, grass round bales, was going for $170 a ton locally. Now, if I had any amount of confidence that I'm sitting all right for feed for next year, I'd probably consider selling some. But I gotta know that my regrowth is gonna amount to something. Because for 2/3 of the farm, if that rain shows up like they're kind of claiming, especially with the amount of nitrogen I put on it, I made a couple passes that had 60 gallons to the acre on it of 32%. Dad and I were cringing a little bit as to whether or not that stuff's gonna be burnt when we came back the next day, but it's fine. If we could just get a half-inch, a soaker on it, and help move that nitrogen down in the roots up there. Down here, I mean, the water is there. I mean, I don't have to dig down very far into the soil here, and the water table is not very low. So all it boils down to is I can potentially make a second cut off down here, leave the second cut on the other 2/3 of the farm. Larry's asking what the bench is. The bench, down here, what I mean when I say the bench is everything that isn't the bottom. So the bottom is 2/3 of the farm, of the valley farm, okay? The bench is the hills, the top of the hills, the pasture, the buildings, the neighbor's place. So that's what the bench is. I mean, I have people still asking questions, so I'm trying to answer them. But it's mixing in nice. I don't know how much you guys can really see that on camera. The wheels got moisture coming up around on them. Big whoop. We get this stuff baled. We'll be stacking it apart, stacking it away from each other so it can air out. And I'll probably start feeding it out almost immediately. I got 7 of those straw bales that we wrapped last year that I got to feed out yet. Got to get the last of them up to the farm. But we've been putting a corn fodder bale in with my cows every time we've been feeding hay to give them something else to chew on that isn't grass. And they're chewing the leaves up, they're looking for corn. I figure it's buying me at least a half a day, if not another day worth of feeding them. So I think we're doing all right. I mean, I'm definitely just trying to figure out what works. So stay tuned for probably a baling video, maybe 1 or 2, because it's going to be at least 2 days of baling to get everything done that we got on the ground. I'm hoping we don't have to wrap anything, because everything that we wrapped was Ryan's already. We did that the other day. He's only got 1 farm that would actually potentially need to be wrapped, but depending on how many bales he gets off, that is going to determine whether or not we should just go ahead and run it into it too. For me, personally, if it is get rained on, if it goes into a bale looking kind of sketchy, I just space it apart, let it air out. I don't want 50 burned up, just black rotten bales on the inside. Because those are a pain to deal with too, because then I got to break them up with the baler, or not the baler, well, with the skid steer. But if it means getting the stuff made and handled so we can focus on the next cutting, I'm all for it. So this is it. I'm just about done. And another reason I wanted you guys to see this in operation is because this might be the last time we run the tedder, depending on what the rest of that stuff does. I mean, if the ground is dry, I might just lay this out flat when we come back down to cut it and just not bother tedding the rest of it, because why waste the time, fuel, energy, and wear parts. So, but this is cool. I mean, it's interesting. I guess I need to do a video on it just so I can look back at it as a reference that we're doing something with it. The landowners said that when they had cows on it anyway, they would still come down in like August and they'd still make the bottom. Otherwise, you know, they grazed it. But he said they'd make what they could off it, and he said that he always can make it from the river over to the hillside, down here, across everything. And he says that even now I'm making more overall than what he did when he was farming it. So the equipment's gotten a lot bigger. They were farming with those what are those, mini Fords or something like that, those little shorter tractors. So it's definitely something. It's kind of fun. The landowners are just impressed by what we're able to do compared to what they did when they were running it. So running these bigger tractors is something they didn't do. I mean, he had a larger Oliver. Can't remember the number on it anymore, but times change, right? So, well, I'm done rambling. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Take care, take it easy, keep in touch. I'll see you in the baling video.